Hello, everybody. Dan D. Federich is from Saratoga Report on a cold Memorial Day weekend Friday with a cold, wet weekend ahead of us. I guess we could have worse problems. I'm here with Saratoga Springs Public Safety Commissioner Tim Coll, first term, in the second year of his first term. And Commissioner Coll, welcome to Saratoga Report. This is kind of a newsmakers segment I do to interview important people about important topics of our community. How are you doing?
Well, thanks. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on your program.
Absolutely, and we certainly have known each other for a couple of years now. So I've been watching, what you've been doing, and you've been active. You've had to be, right. It's the nature of that position, especially. Not that the other commissioners haven't been active, but obviously this is the Commissioner of Public Safety between police, fire, and other departments you have. There's a lot going on in your department.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the biggest department in City Hall. We have 211 employees represented by 6 labor unions. And like you mentioned, it's the fire department and the police department and code enforcement. So it is quite busy.
And so listen, speaking of the police department, that's why we're here today. You have been probably for the bulk of your term advocating and planning and promoting for the city of Saratoga Springs to do what I don't know how many commissioners before you have proposed, but fallen short of doing, and that is once and for all finally build a new police station that serves the needs of the department and the city as a whole. And things have happened in the past week, especially on it, as far as you making a presentation and so forth. Now, for those people watching that aren't too familiar with this, can you give a basic ground floor explanation of what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it, and what are some of the obstacles perhaps on this?
Yeah, certainly. So since I've been in office, I've been banging the drum for a new police facility. This has been going on for decades through every administration here. Our police facility is the same facility that since 1987, when we started here in Saratoga Springs with 8 police officers. They actually did
Commissioner, sorry to interrupt you. I think you meant 1887, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. 1887 with 8 police officers. That's the origination of the police department, and we are still in the same facilities. So going back to 1987, let's move up another 100 years. In 1987, it was a formal needs analysis saying we have lack of adequate space for our police department, and now we're in a situation where the conditions are so poor it's exigent. And so Tuesday night, our police chiefs, Police Chief Tyler McIntosh and Assistant Chief Eric Warfield did an excellent presentation, and it was for the whole community. We want to be as transparent as possible. And they went through excruciating details of their needs analysis of why we need a new police station. So, and I'll just touch on the highlights very quickly. Obviously, we have a lack of inadequate workspace. Our police department has developed from 8 officers in 1887 to 80 officers today. Those 80 officers respond to 27,000 calls per year. Our conditions, again, are deteriorating. We have constant problems with plumbing. We actually even had on video a window falling out of its frame inside the police station. But some of the most important issues, we have inadequate jail cells, right, for our prisoners. And my background, Dan, from law enforcement, I know yours as well. When you have a prisoner, it's so important to treat them with professionalism and with dignity and with respect, because when you do that, you get that in return, and you de-escalate situations. Well, our jail cells, and the presentation is online for anyone who cares to look at it, they look like something from Rome, right? From the bottom of a Colosseum where they would put a lion in a cage. That's how poor they are. So that is one major issue. The second major issue is if you have a complaint, if the public comes into our police station with a very sensitive complaint, like a sexual harassment complaint, they have to talk through a window, like a drive-through window, to the desk sergeant to give their complaint to them. We have no interview space. And that has a chilling effect of victims coming forward to give those complaints to us. And another big issue certainly is our insurance company. Our insurance company, and we cannot lose this insurance company. That we are one step away from being self-insured, which would be a very, very difficult situation for our city. But our insurance company says you need to find a way to stop escorting prisoners on Lake Avenue. And the only way to do that is to have a professional police department with a sally port. You bring a police car or a police vehicle into a garage, you close the steel door, you have an access point to walk them through to their booking room and onto court. That is a very, very common function in modern policing. So those are some of the issues that we have in the city right now. Any other questions about the needs analysis, Dan?
No, I think that paints it. I think you implied, and I watched part of the city council meeting and the presentations you mentioned, and there's even more than that. But you've certainly hit the highlights of why you and others believe that now is the time to build a new police station. If I could ask you, and sorry if I'm cutting you off on a point you wanted to make, so please go back if you do. But at the city council meeting earlier this week, there was some pushback on maybe not so much on the conceptually having a police station, but Commissioner Sungby was talking about the bonding ability, the legal caps on where the city can go. And she said, in some substance, I hope I accurately do this, that, a police station would be good, but I don't think the city can afford it because then we will use up most of our bonding money. We will only have 11 million left until the year 2033 was the gist of, I believe, what she was saying. What is that accurate? Am I giving it? And what do you say to that? If that's
So my response to that is very simple. This same proposal was before the city council in 2008, and the cost was $8 million. So we're fast forwarding to 2025, and the cost is expected to be $25 million. Pretty much the cost is going to double every 10 years. So what is the point of kicking this can down the road, continuing to do so, right? That makes no sense whatsoever because our building continues to deteriorate. And we're going to get to the point where it's going to be condemned, and we're going to have temporary quarters for our police station, and then we're going to have to start building. In government tends to be reactive, but we really need to be proactive for the benefit of our police department. Our police officers deserve, dignity and respect, just like members of our community. But I will get into the financials, really quick on that. We have an AA plus bond rating. And we have a 2% borrowing cap. And that 2% borrowing cap is based on the amount of our total tax assessment. New York State legislation sets that cap as a maximum of 7%. So we have plenty of room to borrow the money. For example, New York City is above the cap. Their borrowing cap is 10%. We're only at 2%. And there was discussion about potentially devaluing our bond rating. But even if that extreme situation happened, we would go from AA plus to AA. And what would that mean would be we're paying an additional 20 basis points on the loan. So instead of being 4%, it's going to be 4.2%, which is not significant considering the exigent need. So that's the case I'm trying to put forward. We cannot continue to kick the can, down the road. We have room to bond this, and we should be pushing in that direction.
Okay, so where does this go from here? You've had some pushback, but not necessarily a hard no, from what I've heard. And that's only from two commissioners. Commissioner Moran had some negativity talking about infrastructure, that he wants to put money towards infrastructure. That may be not an all-encompassing explanation, but that's what I heard, correct or not. And where do you go from here to try? And I'm doing my best to be objective here and give both sides. But obviously, my background in law enforcement, you're preaching to the choir. As a citizen of this city, I agree with what you're saying. Can you imagine how much better off we would have been had they been able to take care of this back in 2008 or in 87 or whenever? It would have been done and paid for by now, or darn close to it. And so it's a shame. So I do my personal opinion or my personal belief as a taxpayer in the city is yes, it is time. And I think it was also mentioned just recruiting police officers. Recruitment of police officers is so difficult and so important these days. As beautiful as Saratoga Springs is, um, to tell them, look at our 150-year-old police station, shoehorned into City Hall. I get it. I get it. There are people that make their points, and I'm not going to take it away from them. But I'm just trying to share my honesty while trying to have some semblance of objectivity as well. If I can reach thread that needle.
Yeah, so it's not. Look, it goes back to the Latin term, right? Acta non verba. It's actions that matter, not words. It's not enough to say we support the police. You have to show us actions that you actually do support the police, and you give them the dignity and respect and the working conditions that they deserve. We need a modern, functioning police station. We are a vibrant community and certainly can afford it. A lot of smaller towns in the capital region have moved forward and built their own modern police stations. So that's my certain response. Certainly my response. I would say this as far as recruiting and retention. This is the first time in my 3 decades of law enforcement when police officers now are free agents. Right? They have the option of going to they can lateral to any police department in the county, in New York State now. And again, we have to make sure that we're attractive. We're attractive for our workforce. We have attractive salaries to retain them, because it doesn't really make much sense for us to be losing all that experience, all that training right out the door after you spend all the money and investment in them.
Yeah, and it's deeper than just giving them a nice modern facility. It's the underlying point you're making, that we respect you as employees. You deserve a professional police station, a professional building. It goes all the way to the equipment and so forth. Different subject, I understand, but as a former police officer, retired police officer, and one that ran unions for 20 years. I see that, and it's important that and it's not just about the police officers and the other civilian staff there. It's for the city. And you even mentioned the defendants, to treat them with dignity and not have 140-year-old facilities. So take me down the road to get this to success. If you could get this to a successful outcome, what happens? Tell me when this fall. You mentioned something. What happens going forward, and to get this across the goal line, and what are the possible roadblocks along that way?
Yeah, well, we'll have a capital committee that we will vote on as the city council. We'll vote on our capital projects, and then we're gonna have to vote on a way to fund it. Again, we have many levers to use for funding. So we have Commissioner Moran has put forth. We expect to have different revenue sources from short-term rentals, revenue sources from cannabis tax. Right, we have paid parking in our city, which are additional revenue sources. We started a new traffic safety unit here as well. Now, of course, that's not our objective. Our objective is to keep the city safe, but those fines and fees are going to add to our revenue. And look, I think the community expects the amount of services we give to our community. That's a 5.5-minute response time for both our fire and police departments. Our community expects to pay a small tax increase, right? 2 to 3% to fund that, and that's just the reality. We have a lot of levers to use to fund the new police station.
Considering the national politics and so forth, this may be a dumb question to ask, but is there federal money or state money available, or grants, or to offset some of these costs?
Yeah, of course. So we spent a lot of time meeting with our federal representatives and state representatives, and they've all understood our need. They clearly understand the need, and they are looking for grants to assist us. But certainly, we are a wealthy community, and they would expect us to be able to pay the lion's share of the cost of the police department. But we're doing everything we can as looking for grants as well.
Okay, and then just hone in a little bit. When would things start happening if you were to take official action to try to get the ball rolling here?
Well, we have to go. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to go through budget season. We have to go through our capital budget, and there'll be votes, et cetera, on that. In the meantime, myself and our staff, we're going to be looking at some other financial alternatives to see if we can reduce costs, the yearly costs.
Okay. And that reminds me, Commissioner Moran mentioned there were other possible locations. You quickly pointed out far less than adequate for what you envisioned. What are those other locations?
Well, so what I quickly learned in office, when you have a new location, even if it's a police department, we always have this "not in my backyard" syndrome. So that right then and there, it's a roadblock. And then for us, the most important part is we need to be in close proximity to the courts, right? So we can have our transport. We arrest the subject. We have to bring them to the police department. We get them processed, and we have a sally port and a walkway, a bridge across into our court system. That's really what we need here. So that's why this location, and this location has been obviously used by other administrations as the best location.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll continue talking about this. Obviously, it'll be an ongoing discussion and issue going forward. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great weekend, Dan. Take care.
Take care. Bye.